Does the supernatural still happen in our world today? Honestly, I can only speak for myself. But what happened to me just this morning, I know I'll never forget. I woke up at 3 a.m. like I always do for my morning devotion. My son Jan had to leave early for work. His shift starts at 4, and it's a good 45-minute trip. I stepped out of my room just to let my boys know I'm awake, sending them off with a mother's silent blessing. But then, trouble. My youngest, Josh, remembered the motorcycle had been acting up since yesterday. It had already failed the other boys. Jan, desperate to make it to work on time, asked Josh to give it another shot. There was no other way for him to get there this early. They tried and tried, but the engine stayed stubbornly silent. Even with Jan giving it a push, nothing but disappointment. As I watched them struggle, I felt a soft conviction in my heart. I turned to my devotional book. It read, "When you seek my face, put aside thoughts of everything else. I am above all as well as in all. Your communion with me transcends both time and circumstances." Those words wrapped around me, and I felt an urge to pray, but not like before, something deeper. So I stopped, right on that sentence. "I am above all as well as in all." And I whispered, "Lord, I believe you still do miracles. Please help my son. Not because I need it, but because you said you could." It felt like such a small thing, a motorcycle, but it meant the world to us. Just then, I heard the boys about to give up, ready to call for help. But I stepped outside. Josh was there, a little defeated. I put my left hand on the handlebars, my right on the gas tank. Josh teased, "Are you going to try it yourself?" I just smiled, bowed my head, and prayed. "Lord, as I touch this motorcycle, let it be your hand fixing it." I told Josh, "Try one more time." Maybe he sensed something different, maybe not. The first try gave us a spark of hope. "One more," I said, and then another, and then, boom! The engine roared to life. I looked at Josh, eyes shining. That was God, Josh. Jan, watching from a distance, hurried over with his backpack ready to go. I called after him, "Jan, nothing is impossible with God. Even the little things. He cares." I went back inside, trying to hold back tears, but they came anyway. I prayed again, this time full of gratitude, tears of joy running down my cheeks. Miracles aren't always big, flashy things. Sometimes they're small moments. A mother's prayer, a stubborn engine, a gentle reminder that God is still listening. Never doubt the power of faith, even for the little things. Because sometimes, that's exactly where miracles show up.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine it's 3 in the morning. You're already up, right? But your son, he needs to be at work by 4, which means he needs to leave like now.
Right now, yeah.
But the only way he gets there is this motorcycle that just, well, it refuses to start. We've all sort of been there, haven't we? That specific kind of early morning panic.
Oh, yeah, that sinking feeling.
That oh no, what now moment. Exactly.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this really powerful first-hand account. It's called Wisdom, a Miracle of Faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a deeply personal story about exactly that kind of dilemma, but, with a twist. A really unexpected one, all told by the person it happened to.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how this story takes something super common, frustrating and a broken down vehicle, and frames it completely through this lens of, well, a very profound belief system.
Yeah.
So our mission really for this deep dive is to explore the details of what they went through. We want to focus particularly on how the author describes this crisis moment leading to what they really strongly call a miraculous outcome.
Right.
And also, what does this specific account tell us about how they see challenges? How they perceive the unexpected stuff in life.
Okay, so let's picture it. Pitch black outside, hours before dawn. A family's facing this problem that could honestly derail their whole day before it even gets going.
Yeah.
Let's see what happened, according to the author. So the author of Wisdom, A Miracle of Faith, kind of sets the scene. They tell us they woke up at their usual time, 3 a.m., for like personal devotion.
Mm-hmm. Standard routine for them.
Right. But this morning, their son, Jan, he needed to leave immediately. His work starts at 4 a.m., and it's a bit of a commute, 30, maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah, tight timing.
Exactly. And the problem pops up when the author goes out to see the boys off. Their youngest son, Josh, he suddenly remembers, oh, wait, the motorcycle's been acting up since yesterday.
Okay, so it wasn't totally out of the blue.
Not completely.
And that's where the immediate challenge hits. Like the author notes, it hadn't worked for Jan's brothers the day before either. So, no other vehicle around at that hour. Jan needs to get to work. So we asked Josh, hey, try it again.
Makes sense.
And they try for several minutes. Jan even starts pushing the motorcycle, trying to get it going. The author describes their efforts, saying they repeatedly got no hopeful sound when Josh released the gear. It really paints a picture of, growing desperation.
Yeah, you can just feel that mounting frustration, can't you? What do you think the author is trying to do by, really emphasizing that mechanical failure right at the start, before getting into the spiritual side?
Well, that's a great point. I think by detailing that initial struggle, the repeated failures,
Yeah.
it really highlights how impossible the situation seemed just from a purely, mechanical point of view.
Mm-hmm.
It sets the stage perfectly for the shift in the story, right? It emphasizes that contrast between, okay, human effort is failing here and what comes next.
Okay, yeah. And here's where this story really takes that unique turn. So while the boys are out there wrestling with this bike, the author feels this strong conviction to pray.
Right.
They describe reading their devotional book, and in their telling, it seemed to have this incredibly specific message just for that moment. The passage read, "When you seek my face, put aside thoughts of everything else. I am above all as well as in all. Your communion with me transcends both time and circumstances. Be prepared to be blessed bountifully by my presence, for I am a God of unlimited abundance."
Wow. Yeah, it's really impactful how that passage, at least as the author presents it, seems to resonate so directly with their immediate, very practical problem. The author says that after sort of digesting those words, they felt this unusual, strong urge to pray. And they focused intently on that one sentence. I am above all as well as in all. Your communion with me transcends both time and circumstances. That specific phrasing and how they interpreted it seems like a key element, It shaped their prayer, letting them connect this really urgent, kind of small-scale issue to a much bigger spiritual framework.
It is pretty striking how perfectly that passage, again, as interpreted by the author, just lines up with the dilemma right then and there. Do you think the author saw this as just like a coincidence? Or was it meant to feel more intentional in the narrative?
Oh, from the way they recount it, it seems clear they perceived it as a direct message. Almost like a confirmation, preparing them for what to do next. The narrative really strongly implies that sense of divine guidance.
Okay. And the prayer itself, according to the author, it's incredibly specific. They say, Lord, I believe you still can do miracles today. Please make it work for my son. Lord, I don't believe because I need it now, but because you said so. I know this is a very small thing for you to do, but this means so much for me and my sons.
Very direct.
And just as they finish this really heartfelt plea, they hear the boys outside giving up. They're about to call their cousin for help.
And this is the moment the author describes as, direct intervention. They went out to the motorcycle. Josh is still standing beside it. The author recounts holding the handlebar with their left hand, touching the gas tank with their right. And Josh, understandably, seems surprised, even as the author puts it sort of mockingly, asking if the author was going to try it themselves after all their failed attempts.
Right, like what are you going to do?
Exactly.
But the author wasn't just trying to physically fix it.
Right.
They describe subtly bowing their head and praying again, saying something like, Lord, as I touch this motorcycle, let it be your hand touching and fixing it. Then they just told Josh, try it one more time. The author notes they didn't know if Josh sensed what they were doing, but, he was willing to give it another shot. This is really where the story hinges, isn't it? That act of faith meeting the physical action.
Absolutely. And this is where the perceived miracle, definitely from the author's perspective, unfolds. The author recounts that Josh gave one kick on the crank, which was almost perfect, they say, and it produced a hopeful sound. Finally. Yeah. So the author encouraged him, one more, then another one, and a few more. And then as they write it, boom, it worked. The engine just roared to life.
Oh, man.
The tension and just the sheer relief in that moment, as it's described, must have been immense.
You can almost feel it. So the immediate reaction from the author, hearing that engine roar, was to tell Josh straight up, it was God, Josh.
Yeah, immediate attribution.
And Jan, who'd been watching from a distance, apparently he comes over, grabs his backpack, gets on the bike, and the author reinforces their belief again to Jan, saying, Jan, there's no impossible with God, even just as simple and small as complying to your work schedule. He cares.
Connecting the big picture to the very specific need.
Right. So the sons leave, and the author goes back inside. Describes trying to hold back tears of gratitude, but just couldn't. Crying generously, as they put it, thanking God. Okay, so we follow this really compelling account. Let's just take a step back and reflect on what this specific story from Wisdom, a miracle of faith, kind of illuminates for us. I mean, you go from a broken motorcycle at 3 a.m. to tears of gratitude. This account paints such a vivid picture of what one person felt was, an undeniable divine intervention in a very mundane, everyday kind of problem.
Yeah.
It's just a powerful illustration of conviction meeting circumstance, right?
Ugh.
At least as seen through the author's eyes.
Absolutely. And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, this story really raises an important question about personal worldview, doesn't it? Like, what happens when this deep personal faith intersects with the absolute practicalities of daily life?
Yeah.
The author explicitly states their belief, there's no impossible with God. Even just as simple and small as complying your work schedule, he cares.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't just about a motorcycle starting. It's really about the author's perceived connection between what seems trivial and what feels profoundly spiritual.
Right.
And how that belief shapes their whole interpretation of events. This narrative truly shows how their conviction lets them kind of redefine the boundaries of what's possible.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening? This deep dive into wisdom. A miracle of faith really offers a profound look at how one individual's conviction totally shaped their experience, frankly, really challenging moment. It kind of invites you to consider, what role do your own personal convictions, your deeply held beliefs, play when you run into one of those sudden, seemingly impossible hurdles?
Mm-hmm.
How might reframing those moments, maybe looking for something beyond the obvious, like the author demonstrates here, how might that change your approach to the small or even big challenges that pop up in your own life? Something to think about.